You gather the perception of what you're being asked to see, a whole new timeline presents itself. That's alchemy. You cannot combat what is the world of darkness by opposing it.
I would say that you are a miracle worker, a healer, a shaman, a high alchemist, and a master of alchemy.
And these are the dreams of your heart. This is also aligned with what would be considered the super consciousness that allows for anything to be possible. Nothing can enter into that. It is so powerful. It shifts a room. It shifts a planet.
Hi, welcome to the Passepartout pod. My name is Monica.
And my name is Stephanie.
And this is your skeleton key
to open the door to everything. One, two, three.
Everything. Hi, Steph.
Bezos. Hi.
Bezos. How are you?
Phenomenal. How are you?
Also phenomenal. I'm so excited to be here because you have helped me in such a grand, extraordinary way in my life and up-leveling, refining, getting through a lot of things that I'm sure we'll get into at some point. But I'm just so grateful and honored to be able to help share what you do in hopes that other people can gain those insights of what I've gained and so have elegantly gotten through life. We'll try to be elegantly. So on that note, who are you?
My name is Stephanie, and I am an ally to you and life and all that is. And so, yes, I fluidly label myself. I work in high alchemy. I'm
unlabeled,
shaman.
though.
Unlabeled.
Unlabeled. She fluidly unlabels herself.
Correct, because a label confines the truth of being all things, no thing, and anything.
It's a box.
It's a box. So as when you are a vast consciousness superimposed over all that is, you can enter into, if you are all things, you can enter into accessing those gifts from any area in life that's available to you at all times, and you can use those gifts as part of your expression.
If I were to describe you, I would say that you are a miracle worker, a healer, a shaman, a high alchemist, and a master of alchemy. Did I miss anything?
And it all also, because of the layers, it's a metaphysician.
You're one big layer cake.
Yeah, big layer cake of metaphysics and mysticism and the world of magic. The world of the mystery and the unfathomable, extraordinary that can't be defined.
Correct. And a little less ethereal, I guess. I'm Monica Richards. I'm a TV and media host and a sustainable living educator, speaker, and consultant. And like I shared before, I've been working with Steph for what we would probably say eons. She came into my life many moons ago and has just helped me so significantly. And so that's how we know each other. Plus, we have some beautiful, amazing, incredible friends in common. So yeah, we go way, way back.
Way back.
Way back. And I have the honor and God, the blessing and miracle of being able to call Steph at any time. So I'm just really excited to be able to to expand those lessons to hopefully all of you who are listening wherever you are. So tell me about magic, because magic is something that we grow up in, right? Like the magic of a fairy tale or the magic of a rabbit coming out of a hat or any of those things. And we're always taught that it's unreal. So how would you describe magic? Because this is what you teach.
So magic enters into the world of the mystery. And it also stems from the innocence that exists in all beings. So within you is the innocence of a child that draws inspiration. These are the dreams of your heart. This is also aligned with what would be considered the super consciousness that allows for anything to be possible. And that is the realm that without any rules, any labels, any belief systems, any programs, that inspiration, that innocent inspiration within that is aligned with life. So children automatically are pure innocence. They
Yes.
have not gathered belief systems to say this is possible or this is impossible. They believe from the purity of their heart. And when they're inspired to have an experience, it becomes so for them. It becomes so. It may be fulfilled through a parent or a loved one or a teacher or other aspect of life, but it's coming forth for them based on the inspiration of their heart. So magic stems from the innocence that exists within you, and then life becomes this unfolding of wonder and bliss and an adventure of discovering yourself anew beyond limitation. If there's some limitation, it's only a bit of an aspect of like a shell that is bringing you the opportunity to move beyond it, to experience greater aspects of your own power. And so the world of magic allows for the fluidity of matter to respond to you. All of life is responding to you. It isn't this rigid, defined reality that is bound by specific rules that have been dictated by society or government or an equation of Einstein. Space in the world of magic and the world of miracles is fluid. It isn't rigid. It is constantly, which is an aspect of the masculine, it is constantly responding to innocence, which is an aspect of the feminine that is coming from this rich inner space of dreaming. And it then creates, all reality aligns to create an experienced dream in matter for you to then be in awe of, to develop yourself and hallow yourself out in your uniqueness. Life is to be experienced.
Yes.
And that is magic.
Yes. Would you say that miracles are magic, or magic is miracles?
They go hand in hand.
Figure 8.
It's
Right.
what cannot be defined. And what's fascinating about the consciousness, and just from what I've seen with people, not with you, but I've seen many experience great miracles. And so great they are, but because they're etheric in nature, or they bypass what the cognitive mind has ever learned to define, they will experience it, and then they will discount it, and they will continue on. And the quality of recognizing, wow, something just happened, that was miraculous, that felt like serendipity, this cannot be explained. There isn't a program that could outline that this, in this exact moment in time, this would all come together to support me based on my inspiration. Many sadly discount it. But going back to what we bring our attention to in consciousness, when we honor these small little details and we begin to be in awe of the tones of the miraculous, more miracles unfold.
Speaking of the child,
Yeah.
a child wouldn't bypass a miracle. A child wouldn't bypass a blessing that happened. They would be like, what just happened? So I think a lot of alchemy is being open enough to see what's happening around you, especially when it's miraculous. That being said, can you go into your inner child? Because I think a lot of people don't understand an inner child and what that means. And it's like some like yogi term, right?
I get it.
Like
Yeah.
like a lot of the time, like we're like, oh, connect with
Yeah.
your inner child. And
No.
so many people are like, what are we talking about?
So there's a word in alchemy that, or a sentence in alchemy that is a key. This is, in the innocence of the moment, the song of the self becomes whole. So
Say it
again,
again.
in the innocence of the moment, the song of the self becomes whole. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. In
We do
the
things in
innocence of the
threes.
moment, the song of the self becomes whole. Within every being exists a whole level of androgynous power. The key of that power is a child, innocence, that lives in the moment. Children live in the moment. They're not out in the future. They're very present in the moment. They're so innocent that they're taking in every detail as part of their experience to understand that experience and evolve. So the child within, it's about 5 years old, is intact, innocent, and never, ever has been affected by the unreal. There's an inner babe that is aligned with the child.
This is the inner family.
This is the inner
This
family.
is what we call the inner family.
alchemical family that exists within all beings
Okay.
of power. Inner babe that is less than a year old, closest to source, operating in undifferentiated space. There's no recognition between it's just texture. So it's everything blends. Imagine a abstract painting in which everything blends and nothing has been defined yet. It's just this undifferentiated experience of space.
Dream.
And innocence. Taking it all in.
Okay.
Then there's a nurturer, which is the feminine quality of a mother who is responsible for ensuring that all of the surroundings of a space are curated to support this vast power that is the innocence of the child. So ensuring that all is there for you. So you do this. This nurturer is there for you to access this power. The sage, masculine component, who then deciphers what are the dreams, what are the inspirations of this innocence, of the child that exists within. How often does one ask themselves, you do, what makes my heart sing? What inspires me? What are the dreams that I have that I've long forgotten? What makes my heart sing? I invite people to ask themselves often, what makes my heart sing? That alone will bring them back to that child. These dreams that have long been forgotten, but any dream that exists from the heart is the dream of the child within, which is the innocence that then liberates you from the tyranny and the jail cells of illusion. So the sage deciphers the information and then masculine component, and then shares it with the warrior, inner warrior, who is paying attention. All of these beings are paying attention to the innocence of the child who has all this power within you, within all. The warrior then ensures that one isn't an outer reality of illusion, but that every aspect of what is unfolding is tended to for the child in the real, meaning you are not reacting to a false reality. You are in response and actively creating from the child being held and nurtured, which moves to what is the adventurer at every moment, masculine component as well. I'm ready to take the adventure of the next moment for the dream that has been inspired by the child. So it's forming. Everything is fluidly forming. This is the world of magic. Realities are constantly forming in honor of the inspiration of the child, the innocence of that child. The dream. All of this is a dream. It's a wondrous dream. It can be a nightmare or it can be a dream of miracles based on how you tend to this.
But then who is after the sage?
So the sage, I just gave you the sage, then I gave you the adventurer.
Is that wild woman?
And then the wild woman or the green man.
Separate.
Yes.
Okay.
So they actually create a cross. It's a horizontal and a vertical axis behind the belly button.
Okay.
At the base of the spine, this information, this power exists in all beings. Awaken this power. You have the key to creating realities unfolding in alignment with life and experiencing the dreams you've always known were possible or that you've forgotten about.
Would you say that you should tend to each one of those members of your inner family to be balanced, or are we really just tending to our inner children?
That's a great question. So,
thank you.
A well-parented child,
Yes.
right? If you are the vast consciousness superimposed over all that is, and the innocence of your child within is what creates reality. If that child is well-parented by a whole inner family that supports it,
Okay.
you would want to, and that's part of what we've worked on, you would want to tend to each of them so that they come back together in unison as a balanced inner family, supporting the dreams of the innocence within you. And so this would equate to anybody else. And understanding that gets activated. And then now you have the components of the sage, the high mind who has eagle perspective, that is that is gathering perceptions, and distortions are being disavowed and released and new opportunities presented, all come together to support the creation of the dreams of the child within. But if any of those personalities aren't activated and or not working together, there's going to be a distortion experienced in outer reality, because those personalities are actually engaged in a space of the unreal.
But how do you then take care of each member of the family? Because each member of the family would need different things.
When you understand, when each member of the family aligns in wholeness, so while there may be different things, when the role of each, when the nurturer can focus on tending to the beauty of a space and nurturing a child, so for self, then the warrior can then do what it's required to do. So there isn't one overemphasized over another. Each has now been emphasized. It's learned, it's activated, and then in wholeness they come together to operate in their truth. So it isn't, I have to do this in order for this. This is an automatic thing that already exists within you. When it is accentuated and called in unison, the distortions that have been keeping them apart immediately dissolve. So it isn't that you have to work lifetimes or 10 years in order to have the inner child activated to be working properly, and then that's going to be another year in order for the warrior to then be doing what it's required to do. Again, in the innocence of the moment, in one moment, the moment well lived, one moment fully lived, changes all of the past, rewrites all the past, and writes the future. One moment well lived, when you are fully present in the moment alchemically, as we are right now, we are rewriting all of the past. But if you are not engaged and fully present in the moment, then you are somewhere over here in a future of, I have to really worry about this. I'm stressed about this, or yesterday all of this happened and I'm worried about what happened yesterday, or you're in a story of a ghost story of a past.
Right.
Then you're not fully engaged in the moment.
Well, you're also contracted, which then develops into separation, which then can develop into death and decay.
Correct. Resistance to life.
Correct. Speaking of outer space, which just means all of the, I guess I would say, realms outside of us, of our inner space. Can we talk about matrices?
Okay.
So what is a matrix?
A matrix, as we experience it here in this dimension, is designed by duality. So two poles, which keeps a reality in place. So it would be duality, meaning good, bad, beneficial, harmful. Wherever one pole of tension is, opposites. Wherever one pole of tension is emphasized, another pole automatically, that's duality. That's separation, because one is overemphasized over the other. You're now in duality. And with duality come rules, and they're strict and rigid. So as soon as you accept them as your truth, you are bound by the rules of that matrix. It's no longer fluid. In order to experience and live in the world of high alchemy, magic, the fluidity of the unfathomable, the mystery, you're no longer in the rigid rules of duality. You are now in the fluidity of the unfathomable. And this is why perspective and perception is so powerful, because you are seeing with the eye of very much like a kaleidoscope. There's all these different facets of possibility, and therefore all timelines, all dimensions are accessible. But you have to be willing to surrender thinking you know anything. We can never know anything. I could sit here and tell you that I know something, but with the infinite equations of all mass consciousness at once and my vast consciousness superimposed over all that is, with everything shifting as an equation at all times, everything's shifting. How could I know? And I found recently, and if you begin to really look at your life, you can look at examples in which you've thought something to be true. Oh yes, they're going to live a long life, and the next thing you know, that you get the news that somebody that you know or a friend that they know recently just passed away suddenly, or couples are breaking up suddenly, and you thought that they'd been married 60 years. How could this be possible?
Right.
The only truth that ever is you cannot know. In a world of mystery with so many different factors, with beings of vast consciousness being able to make new choices and new decisions in every moment, timelines are not definable. They are constantly fluid based on the vast consciousness of a decision you make. So imagine when we began working and we're in an equation, you could have had a trajectory of so many different lines of timelines, and you shifted infinite timelines based on the choices made with new perception.
Correct. And I created new realities.
Absolutely.
Supported by you.
And you surrendered in trust, which is the key.
We keep saying key a lot. So the name of this podcast is Passepartout. What does Passepartout mean to you?
It is the definition of an archaic skeleton key, or the master key, the door, the key that opens the door to everything. It is the key that gives you access to pass through all things. You are the key and the door to everything. Every being has this written in within their DNA, within their skeleton, within their spine. They've just forgotten this, or have lost this truth.
So, if you had to choose one key, because we have referenced many keys in this conversation, if you had to choose one master key, one Passepartout for someone to activate, to remember their dream and be in alchemy and create new perspectives, which beget new realities, what would that be?
From knowing my vastness, I am empowered. So the truth is you are a vast consciousness superimposed over all that is. From knowing my vastness, which is omnipotent, omnipresent, omnisentient, I am empowered. At that point, you have taken complete control of all that is and brought it back to self. You're no
Ownership.
longer ownership. You are the sovereign cause of your reality.
Right.
You're the key. And then that key gives you, there's the tools within that key, because it's all written there, of ascension attitudes, love, praise, gratitude, trust, and hope. But the greatest thing that I've repeated to myself when faced with further initiations in growth to empower myself is, okay, I embrace that this is here. I may not like it. I understand that life only delivers lessons and blessings. From knowing my vastness, I am empowered. I step into that empowerment. From knowing my vastness, I am empowered. And I remind my consciousness when feeling emotional or overwhelmed or in any way limited, because, again, if you take a bid to grow in power, if you take a bid to expand, to experience life in greater ways, life will deliver opportunities for you to expand to that. And they will come in lessons and blessings. And
Initiations.
many times, initiations. And many times you feel, oh my gosh, this feels really overwhelming. But the greater you choose to express, you will be brought opportunities to step into that greatness. And so when they come, you may be judging them from a limited perspective of, this is horrible. But no, it is giving you the opportunity to express your vastness, to express your creative power, to express your ability as an alchemist, as and no longer bound by distortion. I choose to not be bound by the unreal. I choose to not be enslaved to programs, belief systems, and limitations. I choose to constantly be filled with the vitality and luminosity that is our divine inheritance, my divine inheritance. That means I disavow the unreal, and I choose to step into the greatness of my truth. And then I will be initiated in that. And even when I can't see it, I know that hope is a truth that is in my DNA. And even if I cannot see it, I am the shadowless light that knows that it exists, and one glimmer will open and the solution will present itself through trust. I trust it. without a doubt.
And the answer, the next step, always comes through.
Always
You have
comes
to.
through.
You have to ask the question, though. You have to ask the question.
You have, and that's where so many beings innocently are actively seeking outside of themselves and
Right.
looking to be saved or for a solution to present to them, and they're coming from a disempowered place because I need to be fixed. There's something wrong. How can you help me? The truth is all the power is within you, and there technically isn't anything wrong. Why is this blessing or illusion here for you? You ask the question, you have the key. Yes, I can support that, but you activated that yourself, and then your being began to access more of the magic and potentiality within the body as well that has the most ancient power. Matter has ancient magic, and it exists within everybody. But hence coming back to self and into inner space to recognize it and awaken it.
A funny anecdote about Passepartout too is also, well, that was like a tongue twister. Passepartout also is that you were listening to Para for Cuba, and they have a song called Passepartout. And I was dating a Frenchman at the time, and you called me and you're like, how do we pronounce this? And like, this is the coolest name. And so that's how Passepartout developed. Plus, it means like passport, your master key to opening everything, unlocking everything. It's your one key.
It's the key, and it exists
yours.
within. It's yours. Every single being has this key. There's nothing they have to do. It's there. It's their divine inheritance. It exists within them. It isn't that you have to take a ton of classes. It's instantaneously there. Simply by, as I said earlier, from knowing my vastness, I am empowered. And do you see how innocent that is? If you say that to yourself, something will shift. And trust me, when the illusions are overwhelming, if you repeat it to yourself, it does shift. But you remind yourself that what you are experiencing is a lesson or a blessing, even if it feels very real. You embrace it without resistance, and as soon as you're embracing it without judging it, you're no longer bound by the rules of duality. And at that point, it starts to shift. Now it's fluid. Now a whole new timeline can present. You gather the perception of what you're being asked to see, a whole new timeline presents itself. That's alchemy. So you're affecting matter with perspective. Potentialities open up. You become the door to everything because you are the key. In order to have the door to everything, you stay in the I don't know. You embrace the mystery of the unfathomable. You are comfortable knowing nothing and allowing for the next answer to present itself. You enjoy and make time for stillness and being home with the self so that you can begin to recognize this voice within you that is constantly whispering to you and guiding you so that you can hallow yourself out in your own uniqueness and be the great gift to life that you are. Every single being has a unique song that is a contribution to all of the cosmos and beyond.
But this is hard work.
It is the only work we'll ever do. We will hallow ourselves out, and then it becomes an adventure of loving life. And then at that point, you're embracing what is the next adventure? How am I going to dissolve the next illusion? How am I going to expand into ever greaterness? To do things that you didn't ever think were possible, and all of a sudden they are because they're part of what is your dream. Do you see at this point now you're fully engaged in the present? Every task is expanding itself to you to learn something, from cleaning to your day job to the potentiality of like driving, because you're so present with the moment of discovery, like a child. Back to, in the innocence of the moment, the song of the self becomes whole. In wholeness, realities shift and align from wholeness, not from distortion. Not aging, death, decay, no fear, guilt, shame. Distortion cannot exist.
Ghost stories.
No ghost stories. Distortion cannot exist. Fear cannot exist in the frequency of love. Only love can be. They're two different waveform patterns.
What do you think about the quote by Martin Luther King Jr.?
What quote?
The one, we might have to edit this, but isn't it?
Pull that up. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that.
The power of love is referencing that you cannot combat what is the world of darkness by opposing it. So it would be fight with fight. You're actually creating more of it. Love,
Contraction, separation,
correct.
duality, polarity.
Love unifies and includes all that is. Love is a waveform of all inclusivity without judgment. So there, you've now bypassed duality. You're in this place of neutrality, and compassion comes in as well. So at that point, you look at it and accept what is, and the very nature of not judging it or resisting it allows for it to begin to shift. And when you're bringing your consciousness to lovingly, I cannot understand this grotesqueness, this distortion, but it is here. But I call and choose to see beyond this distortion with hope, for a world of diversity, unity within diversity, where life is supported, where beings are inspired to get up in the morning, where beings are dreaming, where they're honoring one another, where they're celebrating life, where they're in unison with being in joy with the animal kingdom and the elementals and all the kingdoms of earth and all of that. But most beings are just struggling to exist. They're in the drudgery of life. So yes, what he said was correct. Love without judgment shifts all. And it does so without agenda. When you love a being, whether it be a child, a loved one, the ocean, your pet, Luna, you love so fully, nothing can enter into that. It is so powerful. It shifts a room. It shifts a planet. It has no agenda. It just loves and appreciates every nuance. And with Luna or my little Heston, every nuance of his expression as he was getting older, as he has his little snoring, their little
chihuahua.
pheromone. Yes, I had a little chihuahua. Was an expression of exquisite beauty for me, and it moved me. It was poetic and profound, and I was in awe. And I knew that when I felt that way, I was being transformed, even in the face of great illusion, as were you. And I wish beings could love that way, not just with their beloveds of the animal kingdom, but humanity. May we be in awe of every nuance presented. It's there to teach us something. And even if it's
North
grotesque,
Star.
correct, it's the North Star. It's the poetic perspective. It's the perspective of beauty. And when we perceive things with such power, with such love, everything changes. You don't have to fight for love. Love flows. It's neutral. It's inspiring. And when you feel it so powerfully, how can you not be grateful for these beings that are still a part of our life?
Right.
And how can you not praise? They're still on North Star. How can you not praise them? And so now you're in love praising. And how can you not be in that and then trust, my gosh, if I can love this way and feel this way, then I can trust that all life can be this way, and life will unfold in this beauty and this grace and this harmony, and will continue to do so. And it's emphasized as a reference point, and it gets bigger. So what we emphasize and we acknowledge and we praise, it gets bigger, because these tones are exponential. They're so powerful.
Where your focus goes, energy flows.
Yes.
As a reference point. She just got emotional, and then I got emotional. I can't when she does that.
Let the emotions out.
Yeah.
Let them flow.
When we speak about our North Stars, we get emotional.
Yeah.
Because
Is my sacred
it's
partner.
the power of
you know,
love.
Yeah.
Right?
So Heston, like your Luna, again, my Chihuahua of almost 18 years, was my beloved. He was my partner, and he aligned with me in every illusion. And I realized how blessed and continue to be blessed I am to have a being that could go everywhere with me, and little and mighty and He allowed for me to keep my innocence intact while facing tremendous illusion in the world of hells.
Speaking of that, I'm going to switch a little bit. When you have clients, a lot of your clients, like I've been with you and you'll get a text from a client, like something terrible has happened. And then another client will do the same, right? And it's just like this, it's a beautiful relationship that you have with your clients. But how do you, as a master of alchemy, a high alchemist, balance that in your own life? Like, how do you not get like drudged down? Is that a word, drudged? And drudgery?
Well, I mean, it works. It's in
You know what I
drudgery.
mean.
You're overwhelmed. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, because I live in the realm of all possibility, and I realize that it's an illusion. So, however
Okay.
distorted, how somebody, I giggle because I personally like to clean. I love cleaning, and
Well, that's
I-
your nurturer inside of you.
So yeah, the nurturer, and
Yeah.
I enjoy getting things very clean because I know that I'm cleaning underworlds and embracing it, not judging it, embracing it. And so it's very much like that. What is great distortion, or what would be considered subconscious realms that most people are afraid of,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be there if they didn't have lessons. And when it's identified and embraced without judgment, the lesson is perceived, and then that tone can automatically dissolve. So for me, there's a quality of experiencing, and just like that, in one moment, what was death, a flower blooms, or somebody maybe experiencing catastrophic illness, and then all of a sudden they're perfectly healthy. And
Which you have seen many times.
so the miraculous is the norm. As the child knows, the world of miracles is the norm. And I also do take a lot of time for stillness. But how can I then not honor? See, I have to honor my being able to have that experience and to see something bloom before me, because I haven't judged what most beings would push away.
What does it look like when a client works with you?
Well, it's different with everyone. They're called to work with me, and it's a voice they hear inside, and
Inner
they honor
knowing.
it. It's never, you have to work with me and this is what's going to happen. You align because you're called, and it's a call that you hear within, and it feels resonant, and you honor it, and you are walking through one door that is bound by limitation and belief systems and jail cells into a door of all possibility. And we enter into an equation, much like what we're doing now. We're in an equation, and we begin to just talk. And, well, what are we being asked to see? And they organically begin to share. And many times they're presenting with one thing, but really what is to be addressed is underneath it. And so we're able to get underneath it, and we access the distortion, the seed of what is causing that. And once it's identified and the perceptions gathered, all of that is dissolves. It lineage worth of chaos or illusion can be dissolved in one moment. But again, none of it is judged.
Right. Remember that one time when someone put their hand in my face? And I have a thing with having somebody like a hand in my face. Like I just have a thing with it. Like if you touch my face, like I hate it unless you're like a loved one and you're like, caressing, but like don't touch my face. Remember when someone put their hand in my face and I was telling you about it on the phone, and you're like, you've been muzzled. And so you're like, take a minute, and you did some alchemic equation over the phone. I'm in New York, you're here in Carmel, and I literally felt this muzzle like come off, and it was insane. It was insane. So there's also those moments of working with you. And even I have a girlfriend who I recommended to you a very long time ago. We don't work in timelines. So it was then fast forward, I don't even know how long, but I had never asked her about it because everything is very private. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've got to tell you, like, I'm still working with Steph. And I said, well, how is it? And she's like, Steph makes my room spin. She was like that. She makes my room spin.
I love that.
So I think that
Yeah.
every person is different, but you do a lot of, it's not just listening and peeling back the layers. There's a lot of, even though that's the basis of it, there's a lot of elixirs and alchemic equations and tools that you gift your clients with.
Yes. So with it, with empowerment, not only are you going to access your own power, they are gifted different forms of elixirs, so musical sigils that are ceremonial, filled with white and black light frequencies that continue to dissolve illusion. And so those are designated by allies in the hidden realms, specifically angel gods, that then they receive to continue to listen so that they're not reestablishing these illusions. And so more and more illusion elegantly and comfortably is continuing to be dissolved.
I love my elixirs.
Yes, there's clearings, light explosion protocols so that they're empowered. It isn't align with Stephanie and have it cleared, absolutely. But you're stepping in to being a master of your own reality. You're being activated with your own key that exists within you, and then you become the master of your own reality, and you can take it as far as you want. All beings are alchemists. All can live in the world of magic should they choose to be freed of illusion.
If you have any comments, questions, feedback for Steph, leave them in the comment section below and we'll get back to them, answer a few of them in the next video.
Absolutely. We'll play with dissolving illusion.
A miracle in and of itself.